I'm Vanessa Erabobo. I'm a Program Officer with the International Trade Center in Geneva. I work in the field of trade, that's helping countries sell goods and services amongst each other. And my specific focus is on working with women, business owners, and women who are really interested in participating in commercial activities, working with them and really helping them to create great products, great services, and be able to sell them to buyers in other countries. So when I finished my international baccalaureate at 18 years old, I went off and studied civil engineering, which was really interesting. I was one of very few girls in my university course of civil engineering. And it wouldn't have necessarily even been my first option, but I think it's important when you're choosing your university degree to focus on something that opens up a lot of different opportunities for you. So I took civil engineering and graduated and never worked a day as a civil engineer. I then did a master's in IT. At that time, computing and technology was quite new. You know, I didn't have that many people in my email address book. So it was quite interesting for me to take IT, and I went straight into banking. And then I came back after a few years of working and did my master's in business administration. My job, what I do is a lot of different things. Some of the things I really enjoy doing is working with the business owners. So we work with a lot of women business owners in different countries around the world, and we train them to improve their skills and their knowledge of what's going on in the outside world and how to get their goods and services to the outside world. It can be quite challenging for a lot of these small companies, you know, looking at all the different processes and documentation and taxes and tariffs required. It can be quite daunting, so we work a lot with these business enterprises, training them to be able to reach the outside world. We also provide support to institutions, organizations. So we are based here in Geneva, and we work with a lot of people around the world. It's very difficult for us to efficiently reach those small enterprises around the world, so we work with organizations and we teach them how to teach the small business enterprises. A lot of my work also involves partnerships, which are really important. It's important to be able to identify other organizations that have similar goals that you have, and to be able to harness those objectives and collaborate and work together to achieve, you know, you can achieve a lot more through partnerships. So a lot of the work I do is developing partnerships and relationships with other organizations so that we can work together to help women-owned enterprises in developing countries reach regional and international markets. The way I chose my profession, I really enjoyed banking, I really enjoyed business, I really enjoyed, you know, the negotiation, and you find that entrepreneurs are really interesting, and, you know, there's a lot going on in the business world. So that's how I got into banking, and that was great fun. When I did my MBA, I was approached to go work at the International Finance Corporation in Washington on a new program to support women business owners access finance. So that's how I ended up going into development from the banking industry. And once I started working with business enterprises in developing countries, I loved it. It's just, for me, it's, you know, it's interesting, and it also feels like I'm, I'm changing the world in some way, in a small way. You know, I'm not going to save the world, but I do feel like, you know, in small ways that I'm able to change the world in some way in my job, and that's really what made me choose this profession, and what makes me enjoy every day at work. My specific job, I think what's really important is ability to manage a lot of different things at the same time, always juggling so many different things under a lot of time pressure, ability to communicate, convince people, engage with people, you know, and I think what's also really critical is to knowledge, you know, and constant pursuit of learning, every day learning, reading, knowing what's happening out in the world, to be able to really provide the best solutions for the people that we're working for. The negative aspect, I'd say, and I think it's the same in any big organization that's driven by consultative processes and consensus-driven decisions and things like this, is the process and procedure and the bureaucracy that really irritates me, because I want to move quickly. So I think that would be the negative aspect of my job here at ITC. In terms of positive aspects, I really can't speak enough about how great it is working at a place like ITC. It's a small agency, so you're able to really do a lot. You're really able to influence the work that you do, to make decisions, and to, relatively to the rest of the UN organization, I think you can, you know, move quite quickly in some ways as well. And I think the most interesting and positive thing is how close we work, how practical we are, and how closely we work with our clients. You know, we're on the ground, you know, we go on mission into the different countries, and we speak to people, and we learn a lot from them. So I think that's really positive. The project that had the most impact, the most impactful mission that I have been on so far is a mission that I recently undertook to the Pacific. It was my first time to the region, and you know, we travelled to Papua New Guinea. We went out of the capital city. We went up into the Highlands region, and you know, seeing such a different way of life, seeing the strength of character, despite the conditions that, you know, the women that we were meeting were living in, seeing you know, how committed they were, how dedicated they were, how hard they worked to make sure that their children and that their families had access to some education, access to some healthcare. For me, that mission really touched something in me, and it's a project that I'm managing and that I'm really, really passionate about, because I can see that with just a little bit of help and all their talent and all their innovation, that we're going to be able to make a real difference on the ground. For me, it's almost like coming home in a way, because I've grown up in such multicultural and diverse environments that for me, International Geneva is like being at home. You know, being able to interact with people from so many different countries, try out so many different foods, and it's something that I went through in my education system, to respect different cultures, to learn, you know, from different cultures, and all cultures have good and bad aspects. and to try and to have the opportunity to really learn from other cultures, I think for me is international Geneva. And it really, you know, being in a city like this, you know, it's such a small city, and yet it's so big at the same time. So being in a city like this just helps me as well go back to my roots. You know, I'm able to tap into being African, what that's all about, and I think it's great. If you're interested in a career in an international corporation, and you know, I would say to anybody setting out, don't just be interested in a career, be interested in an excellent career. And if that's what you want, then it's really simple, really basic. Work hard, work really, really hard every day of your life, and take an interest in what's happening in other parts of the world. Watch the news, read literature, different books, you know, set in different settings in different countries. There's lots of great literature out there. Go to restaurants, watch foreign films, so that you can understand not just the business environment, but the cultural context, the social context, and work hard.